The third wedding of Mary, Queen of Scots. Mary, Queen of Scots, is one of Scotland's most renowned historical figures. Born at Lindengrow Palace in 1542, she became queen just 6 days later, following the death of her father. As his only legitimate heir, Mary ascended to the throne at an incredibly young age. At the age of 5, Mary was sent to France as part of an arranged marriage to the French Dauphin Francis. Tragically, Francis passed away in 1561, leaving Mary a widow. She returned to a divided Scotland, where tensions between Protestants and Catholics were escalating due to the Reformation. In a bid to stabilise her rule, remarrying seemed the most sensible option. Mary's second marriage to Lord Darnley would prove to be a tragic and tumultuous union, further complicating her reign. Lord Darnley was far from popular, and the relationship quickly soured. His jealousy towards Mary's secretary, David Riccio, grew, culminating in Darnley's involvement in the brutal murder of Riccio in front of the Queen. Meanwhile, Darnley's behaviour became increasingly erratic. He spent long nights drinking and having affairs, neglecting his responsibilities as a husband. In February 1567, an explosion rocked the Edinburgh residence where Darnley had been staying. However, it was not the explosion that claimed his life. His body was discovered outside the property, unharmed by the blast, but showing signs of strangulation. Suspicion surrounding Darnley's murder soon turned towards the Earl of Bothwell, who would become Mary's next husband. A few months after the trial, Bothwell was acquitted, and he and Mary wed in Edinburgh. Immediately, rumours began circulating that Darnley's murder had been a crime of passion, allegedly committed by Bothwell and Mary. Many critics pointed to the lack of thorough investigation into Bothwell's possible role in Darnley's death, fueling suspicions. Court gossip even suggested that Mary might have been pregnant before the wedding, and that she and Bothwell had been having an affair prior to Darnley's murder. The marriage also sparked widespread anger. Catholics in Scotland were upset, believing that Mary was showing a lack of devotion to her faith, especially since the wedding ceremony was Protestant. Protestant lords, who already disliked Bothwell, were equally displeased with the union. On the 15th of May 1567, Queen Mary of Scots entered into her third marriage, this time to James Hepburn, the fourth Earl of Bothwell. Just days before the wedding, on the 12th of May, Mary elevated Bothwell's status, making him Duke of Orkney, a significant move that solidified his position in both her court and Scottish nobility. The ceremony, held in accordance with Protestant rites, was notably small, with very few attendees. The guests included the couple's personal servants and 4 of Mary's most trusted lifelong friends: Mary Seton, Mary Beaton, Mary Fleming, and Mary Livingston. This small gathering was a stark contrast to the highly public weddings of other royals, further adding to the intrigue and controversy surrounding the event. On her wedding day, Mary wore a striking black gown, which served as a symbol of her mourning for her second husband, Lord Darnley, who had tragically been murdered the previous year. However, this was not a typical mourning dress. Crafted from luxurious black velvet, the gown was embroidered with intricate gold and silver threads, a detail that elevated the attire far beyond conventional mourning fashion. The heavy symbolism of the black gown was combined with a touch of grandeur, reflecting both her sorrow and her royal status. The ceremony was presided over by a relative of Bothwell, who also held the title of the legitimate Bishop of Orkney, further cementing the marriage's official standing. James Hepburn, the new Duke of Orkney and Mary's third husband, had just finalised his divorce from his previous wife, Jean Gordon, before marrying Mary. His controversial and swift rise in both social and political standing was partly due to his close relationship with Mary, which had already caused much scandal in the court. To understand the significance of Mary's decision to marry Bothwell, it's important to know her own complex background. Mary was born on the 8th of December 1542, the daughter of King James V of Scotland and Mary de Guise. Upon her father's death, she became Queen of Scotland at just 6 days old. As an infant queen, she was initially placed under the regency of James Hamilton, the second Earl of Arran, and later her mother, Mary de Guise, who became the regent during Mary's early years. Mary's heritage was marked by her maternal connection to the Tudor dynasty. Through her grandmother, Margaret Tudor, Mary was related to Henry VIII of England, which made her a key figure in the political struggles between England and Scotland. Raised in the French court after being sent there at the age of 5, Mary was groomed for marriage to Francis, the Dauphin, heir to the French throne. After Francis's premature death in 1560, Mary returned to Scotland, a young widow in a country fraught with religious and political upheaval, which would ultimately play a role in the decisions that she made, including her marriage to Bothwell. Bothwell was implicated in Darnley's death, and there were rumours that Mary was involved as well. Their controversial marriage caused uproar among the Scottish nobility, leading them to raise an army against her. Mary was imprisoned at Loch Leven Castle, which is where she was reported to have miscarried twins fathered by Bothwell. On the 25th of July 1567, Mary was forced to abdicate, and her son James became king, with Mary's half-brother James Stuart acting as regent. In May 1568, Mary escaped her prison and fled to England. In June, a coalition of Protestant Lords raised an army against Queen Mary. This led to her confrontation with Bothwell at the Battle of Carberry Hill. Despite its name, the battle involved no combat, only intense negotiations, and in the end, Mary was betrayed and captured. Held under house arrest, Mary spent her final night in Edinburgh at her residence on Stuart's Close. Mary was subsequently taken to Loch Leven Castle and imprisoned. However, on the 2nd of May, she managed a daring escape and gathered an army to reclaim her throne. Unfortunately, her forces were defeated at the Battle of Longside. After this defeat, Mary fled to England, hoping that her cousin, Queen Elizabeth I, would assist her in regaining the Scottish throne. Instead, Elizabeth placed Mary under house arrest, suspecting her of plotting to claim the English crown. As a result, Mary was charged with treason. In 1587, a tragic misinterpretation of a letter from Elizabeth I led to Mary's execution. The men responsible for this misunderstanding were imprisoned in the Tower of London for over a decade as punishment. Bothwell, after fleeing to Dunbar, never saw Mary again, and he eventually died in Denmark in 1578. Mary's son, James, ascended the Scottish throne, and following Elizabeth I's death, also became King of England, uniting the two crowns.